Knuckle up, yo. I'm Sugar Ray Robinson, pound for pound the best. And you overprotected, never been in no real test. Mike Tyson eat your kids for lunch. I'm like Willie Pep, I could win a round without throwing a punch. Lennox Lewis had a glass jaw. If my grandmother hit him on the chin, he probably hit the floor. The Roto Duran, all-time greatest lightweight. Prince Nassim was whack, all the hype was fake. Leon Spinks was the ultimate slacker. Sugar Ray Leonard was great, but he should've lost to Hagler. The 70s had the best heavyweights. From Ali Frazier to George Foreman, there was so many greats. Bob Foster hit way too hard. He would've put Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones in the graveyard. Some of y'all might disagree, but Larry Holmes might have been the best, even better than Ali. Greatest Puerto Rican fighter, Carlos Ortiz. Runner-up Wilfredo Gomez in the early 80s. Worst Puerto Rican fighter is John Ruiz. Winky Wright beat Shane Mosley 2 times with ease. Bernard Whitaker was robbed so many different occasions. Mike McCallum represented hard for the Jamaicans. Costa Tzu made Zab through the funky chicken. Years later, Ricky Hatton had Costa Tzu quit, and I ran Barkley rep the BX. Christy Martin was the first popular fighter of the opposite sex. Galata punched Riddick Bowe repeatedly in the dick. Then when he fought Mike Tyson, he bitched out and quit. James Toney was a skilled technician. Jack Johnson beat white boys and fucked their women. Floyd Patterson got knocked out by Sonny Liston. Paulie Ayala always seemed to get the gift decision. Arturo Gatti take the best ass whipping. Jim Lampley and the rest of the HBO cheerleaders do the most ass kissing. They jerked Bernard Hopkins, ruined his 10-year reign. They stole his belts from him, gave him to Jermaine. Vasily Giroff nearly murdered Joe Macy. Joe Calzaghe annihilated Jeff Lacey. John Mugabe's nickname was the Beast. Corrales Castillo, the first fight was a masterpiece. Julian Jackson crushed Terry Norris. Mayorga knocked out Forrest. Ernst Hagler taught us what a war is. Trying to find the next heavyweight great. They thought it was Isaiah Bucci, but he went to jail for rape. Bob Abrams a weasel and Don King's evil. Floyd Mayweather's good, but he need to fight better people. We watched Oscar De La Hoya get rich. He nearly outpointed Felix Trinidad, but then he ran like a bitch. Barrera Morales, Julio Cesar Chavez. Mexican fighters was fucking up mad heads, and we never got to see the best. Salvador Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez retired undefeated. Larry Holmes beat Michael Spinks, but he got shitted. Manny Pacquiao speed is heated, believe it, you eat it. Oliver McCall smoked crack and had a nervous breakdown. Riddick Bowe knocked out Holyfield in the 8th round. Jake LaMotta had the best chin. When Mike Tyson beat Spinks, was his best win. They stopped 15-round fights after Duck Who Kim. The biggest disappointment was probably gold medalist Mark Breland. Emil Griffith was accused of hanging out with queers. Tony Ayala went to jail for 16 years. Michael Grant fought pitifully. Vito Antuofermo was a champ from Italy. Chris Bird beat Vitaly. Fernando Vargas' best win was Ike Corte, who fought the best competition, Juan Laporte. Levander Johnson killed in the ring, R.I.P. Tommy Morrison was diagnosed with HIV. First round, Ernie Shavers finished Kenny Norton. Michael Dokes and Tony Tucker was both Coke Norton.
Go ahead and kick off the show, man. Hope you guys are listening in. If you are, go ahead and add the Box Union on Skype, and go ahead and get us started.
Yeah, we got some good questions coming through right now. Over the last week anyway. The first one, I'm going to give special shout out to Neil, who got back to us on Twitter, even asking us if we did actually get through this question, and we do. We're going to do it right now. This is the first one, and Neil asks, what are some of the other great fights in boxing that have just never happened? Let's have our opinions on this one, guys. Stu, do you want to kick us off? What are the great fights that have never happened?
Aaron Pryor v Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, these two were terrific fighters. But for some reason, Sugar Ray Leonard didn't want the fight. I mean, Aaron Pryor was a hell of a fighter. But obviously, he had a dodgy cornerman that's obviously banned from boxing at the moment, Panama Lewis. I think he gave a strange drink to Aaron Pryor in the fight. And with, that was Camacho, wasn't it? Or something like I don't know. But like I said, at the end of the day, that fight never happened because Sugar Ray Robinson didn't trust Aaron Pryor, and that would have been a terrific fight that could have gone either way. Obviously, I'm a
Sugar Ray Leonard, you mean?
So, yeah, I honestly, obviously, I'm a Sugar Ray Leonard fan, so I would say he'd win it. But Aaron Pryor was a terrific fighter, so I'm going to go Aaron Pryor, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay, Joker Boxing, what have you got for us on great fights that have never happened?
Yeah, that was a really good one, Stuart. I'm going to go with one that y'all should be familiar with. How about Lennox Lewis versus Riddick Bowe?
Yeah.
We never got to see that one, man. That would have been a great one. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. I wish that fight would have happened. And obviously, right now, I'm sure there's a couple of fights that we could think of today that aren't happening. I'm not gonna mention what it is, but for the viewers listening in, I'm sure y'all know. But yeah, I think that's definitely one I would have loved to have seen, man. One of those fantasy matchups, Riddick Bowe and Lennox, man. That'd have been a good one. What do you think, E-Boxing? Chime in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I liked Riddick Bowe versus Lennox Lewis. I like that one. That was a good fight. That was a good fight that never happened. Like to see how that would have played out. But there's other ones that I'd have liked. Can you imagine if Joe Calzaghe ever fought Nigel Benn? Never happened. Never could happen. But it would have been interesting. Some great fights out there. But we'll move on. Jimbo from the chat. That's James McKnight 83 says, Who would you guys like to see Lucas Matisse fight in his next 2 fights? Joker Boxing, do you want to start this one off?
Lucas Matisse. Obviously there's the Marcos Maidana fight. That's a good one. Obviously Argentina, versus Argentina, man. That'd be a good one. We've been talking about that for a long time. 140, man. It's an interesting division. If Broner actually went down to 140, if he did, that would be a guy I'd love to see him fight. Heck, he couldn't beat Maidana. I'd love to see him take a crack at Matisse. There's still the Danny Garcia rematch, which probably won't happen. But there's a lot of people out there who feel like, if, Lucas's eye, didn't pretty much blow up to the size of, a freaking watermelon, then he might have performed a lot better in that fight. So, I think that'd be an interesting rematch as well.
Yeah, I definitely like that, yeah. Stuart, are you ready to tell us what you think about Lucas Matisse's next fights?
Well, it's a tough one with him, really, because that 140 division, it looked really strong last year, but it's starting to look quite weak. I mean, a lot of the top fighters in that division are going up. I could see Garcia going up anytime soon. So it's hard to say. I'd have to go with Maidana, an all-Argentinian battle. I mean, obviously, he's got Broner coming up, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But if I was to choose, it'd probably be an Argentinian battle with Maidana, because there's not a lot of options for Matisse unless he has a rematch with Garcia, and I just can't see Danny Garcia taking that route. I just think Garcia's going to move up to 147. He's struggling at 140. Huge guy. I mean, he's walking around at 165, 170 pounds, so I can't see him being at 140 much longer.
Yeah. For me, I definitely like Lucas Matisse versus Marcos Maidana. I think it's an interesting fight. One of the best fights out there for them. All Argentinian battle, like you said. It definitely is tough. You're right, Stuart. Actually, yeah, it's definitely tough because who else can you fight there at the weight other than the Danny Garcia rematch? Maybe a Peterson rematch. Not too much there for him really. Maybe he's going to have to move up, and we'll see if he can get some different fights. But who knows if he can do that? Yeah. We'll go and move on to Liam Benbow, who says, what fight do people believe is a bigger fight? Carl Froch versus George Groves 2 or Brook versus Khan?
I'd have to go with George Groves, Carl Froch 2. I mean, Cal Brook is still not that known to the casual. Obviously, the proper boxing fans, the real boxing fans know who he is. A lot of them don't like him. I mean, I'm a big fan of Cal Brook, as everyone knows, and I think he's a real talented fighter, but I'm going to be a realist here. At the end of the day, money-wise, pay-per-view-wise, I think Froch Groves is a lot bigger fight. Amir Khan's, he's got a big following in certain countries, but just not in England at the moment, because he hasn't fought here for years. And I think the English people have gone off him a bit. He's strolling around being a bit arrogant, and I think the British public have took a distaste to Amir Khan at the moment. So that fight is a big fight, because obviously they don't like each other and it'd be a classic to watch, but for pay-per-view figures, it's nothing like Froch Groves. I think that's a much bigger fight. But we've lost Joker, Mark, so
so it's just me and you. Yeah, so for me, I think that this is actually a bit of an unfortunate trick question, really, because obviously, like I said, if we didn't see Groves Froch 1, most people thought Groves Froch won before the fight happened, was a mismatch anyway. But it just turned out Groves was a brilliant fighter in that fight, and that's what made it a spectacle. So, who knows how the second one could go. But with Khan, we don't know what that fight's going to be, so it's a bit unfair. And for that reason, I'm going to go Froch versus George Groves. But I definitely want to see Brook versus Khan. I definitely want to see that fight. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a great fight, in fact. Someone's is gonna get knocked out in that fight. So here's another one for you then, Stu. This one is from Jim Grills, right? And he asks, what can we do better to protect fighters' health?
Stop hiring incompetent referees and doctors that are scared to stop fights. I mean, in Britain, in the UK, we've actually, we actually are quite safe over here. We've got good procedures. Obviously, we've had two, bad tragedies in the ring where two world-class fighters were brain damaged through incompetence, through lack of funding, through the lack of people being in the right place. It was just a complete mess, and they got sued, the British Border Control, and they're still paying for it now. I think Frank Warren had to lend them £1 million to survive. So this is the shit they got themselves into, and through incompetence. So they are scared at the moment. So this is why we're seeing a lot of fights in England getting stopped prematurely. I mean, they'd rather say, well, the ref was incompetent than obviously to protect their back. But yeah, I can't see any problems in the UK at the moment. But obviously, when you go to Eastern Europe, I mean, some of them referees over there, like in Russia, are clowns. I mean, Denis Lebedov, he should never have been allowed to continue. The man had a growth coming out of his forehead. I mean, it was a horrendous injury. I mean, no man should be allowed to carry on fighting with that head injury. And the ref, he didn't turn a blind eye to it. It was like nothing happened. Costa Tszyu was a disgrace that night in his corner. The doctor, I don't know what doctor they got, but what a fucking clown he was, because that fight should have been stopped. So yeah, that's what worries me a little bit, the incompetence of the referees and basically doctors being scared to stop fights.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very hard question to answer because number one, we're not in charge of boxing at all. The second thing is you think, does anything need to be happened? Because we already have, referees who are stopping the fights prematurely. We already have, a lot of rules in place. And the only thing I would say is, I think maybe a rule could be brought in so that, a fighter, if he gets like an inch, like a broken hand or something, that he's forced to pull out. Like they tell a doctor, tell him at end of every round everything's fine, or we've got a bit of a problem with a round. We think it's broke. Oh, it's broke. We're holding the fight off, and that's what they do. And it just goes down as retirement or something. I don't know. Yeah. They should do it a bit differently to how they do it, and it's just a stoppage loss. Maybe it's because like if you look at Magomed, for example, he had a broken hand throughout that fight with his opponent Perez, and Perez was just able to walk through him because he obviously didn't have all his full arsenal.
Yeah. And
Perez is a good fighter too, so you don't want to be a half a man fight a full-blown fighter who's coming to try and take your head off. And he was a proud man. He didn't want to go out. He didn't want to go out like so. Pride, I guess, is another thing that you have to take. Well, I don't know why you can take away a fighter's pride.
Don't you think the trainers obviously? Don't you think trainers are a problem as well, Mark? We've got these fame whore trainers that are just living off fighters' names, and they don't care about the welfare of them. They just want a name for themselves. So they just, Tapia's corner, prime example. The guy had nothing left. You could see the man was dying in the corner at the end of the round, and they were like putting a sponge on his face and going to say, "Get out there! You got him hurt. Go on, get him." The guy didn't have Kirkland hurt. He was the one in trouble. That fight, a young boy, he had nothing left. Why let him take that punishment? I'll tell you why. Because you got too many fame whore trainers that are trying to make themselves a name off the back of fighters, and that's another problem we got.
Yeah, that is a problem. That's a problem. Joker Boxing is back with us, so I'm going to ask him the same question. What do you think we can do better to protect boxers' health? It's just like basically aimed at the people in charge of boxing.
Well, I agree. Stuart just brought up a good point that trainers are part of the problem. Obviously, refs as well, knowing when to stop a fight, when is it too early, when is it too late. I mean, that's stuff that we've all been debating, especially since you bring up the Glenn Tapia fight, and then there was the Froch Groves stoppage that everyone thought was too early. So obviously there has to be a line drawn. A suggestion that I've brought up is that I feel like certain matches just shouldn't happen from the get-go, like say Canelo Alvarez versus Josesito Lopez. I mean, that's a fight that was a very dangerous fight for Josesito, and that should have never taken place. That fight should have never have happened. And if we have maybe a board that looks at fights like that and says, you know what, that's not a safe fight that should be happening. That guy shouldn't be moving that much up in weight, fighting a bigger opponent. Maybe we could protect fighters that way. So, and also we get less, BS fights happening. We get better fights happening. If we actually went about it that way, we wouldn't have to subject ourselves to watching that type of a fight. So I think that's one way we could deal with this.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way. We'll move on now to another guy who, his name's brilliant if this is his real name. Chimanga Williamson has asked us, when Vitali retired, do you think they should have had a heavyweight tournament with Wilder, Arreola, Hay, and Chisora? So we'll start with Stuart. What do you think about that?
Can you just name them 4 fighters for me again, please, Mark?
Deontay Wilder,
Yeah.
Chris Arreola, David Hay, and Derek Chisora.
I wouldn't put Derek Chisora in there, but yeah, I'd love to see that, but without Derek Chisora in it, because he's got no right to be there. I mean, what's he done? I mean, I like Derek Chisora, but the guy's lost every big fight he's been in. So, what does he bring to the table? That's what I want to know. Tyson Fury's got to be in there, or Stavern, or these guys. Not Derek Chisora. I mean, fuck me. I mean, the only way Derek Chisora gets in that tournament is if Frank Warren is hosting it.
Yeah, it actually makes you think why Chimanga brought these fighters in. I mean, no Stavern, but I mean, this is his question, but I guess it would be interesting. I think it would be an interesting thing. But Deontay Wilder's never done nothing in his career to now. Beat 30 no marks, brilliant. Chris Arreola's lost every big fight he's been in, and just lost to Stavern, who doesn't seem to be mentioned. David Hay is David Hay. He's a good fighter, but he's always injured, or lying about being injured, or problems like that. And like you said, Derek Chisora, I don't think Derek Chisora deserves to be there over Tyson Fury. But saying that as well, does Tyson Fury deserve to be there?
Well, exactly.
I want to see Wilder there, that's for sure, because I want to see what that guy's got. I'm sick of him fighting zombies with no pulse.
Well, here's my opinion. Do any of these heavyweights really have a tremendous resume? I mean, at the end of the day, because the heavyweight division has been thin for so long, that's part of the reason why these guys don't have good resumes. And then when you add to the fact that, certain heavyweights are being protected, like Deontay Wilder, you brought him up. He's being very protected. And even Tyson Fury, in my opinion, has been pretty protected until now, as far as I'm concerned. So as far as I'm concerned, none of these guys really have the best resumes. So I can't even really fault, you brought up Del Boy Chisora. I can't really fault Derek for not really having, the best resume to date, because none of these guys really do. I mean, even David Hayes' resume isn't tremendous, you know what I mean? So considering the heavyweights that we have around right now. Yeah, I think a tournament would be great. I think Chiminga brings up a great point. I think a tournament would be great, just like we had the Super Six. And I think we need that in more divisions in boxing to find out who's the actual guy, because all of these belts holders we got running around in all these different divisions, the picture is just really unclear right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I mean, if you look at two of the fighters, for example, Chris Arreola and Derek Chisora, they're basically the same person, but different, from different places, Both have lost every big fight they've ever been in. But, yeah, it'd be interesting. We'll move on to the last question now. The last question. And that is, does the loser of Butte Pascal have a career at the top level?
Well, I'll go ahead and chime in first on that one. I mean, let's look at their division. I mean, these guys are at light heavyweight. At the end of the day, Adonis Stevenson and Sergey Kovalev and Bernard Hopkins, look like they're pretty much holding that division down. And do we really think that Lucian Butte, at this point in his career, a guy who struggled with Dennis Gretchev, is he going to give any of those guys competition? I mean, Jean Pascal, he already had his crack at B-Hop, and he kind of miserably failed with that. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see them ever being top level. And I never really thought either of them were top level. So the fact that they're both at a point in their career where they're trying to pick up the pieces, I definitely don't think they're going to be top level anytime soon. And like I said, do we really think that realistically they even have a shot against Stevenson or Kovalev? So realistically, these guys, their best fights are going to be against guys like Nathan Cleverly and Tony Bellew.
Well,
and that's basically going to be. Yeah, exactly. And that's the best they could probably aspire for at this point, man. So I just don't see it with either of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Stuart, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, if Bute loses, then I just can't see where he goes. I just can't. I mean, he looked terrible against Grachev, and he got totally destroyed against Froch. He just doesn't seem the same man to me. I mean, he's gone up a weight as well. I mean, I got a feeling Pascal's going to do a number on him. I really do. Do you know what I mean? And I just think it's going to be the end of Bute. Like, tell Jay Music in the chat says, back to Romania with his tail between his legs, I think, because I just can't see him beating Pascal. I think Pascal's tough, man. I mean, this guy went to war with Carl Froch for 12 rounds. And anyone that hasn't seen John Pascal v Carl Froch, go on YouTube and watch that fight, because it was a terrific fight. I mean, what a war that was. So, I mean, Loco Mexican, obviously you don't agree with me. He says Bute's going to KO Pascal, but Pascal's got a granite chin, so that is definitely not going to happen. So, and I'm willing to put my ass on that one. So, yeah, I mean, I like Bute. I mean, Bute's got skills, but I just think he's a broken man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we should go ahead and talk about that fight then. I think we should go ahead and get into that. I mean, you bring up a good point, man. I mean, Lucian Bute, last time we saw this guy, he struggled with Denis Grachev. Before that, got annihilated by Carl Froch. And then there's Jean Pascal, who's looked pretty lackluster in his last few performances. I mean, he did at least win his last fight, but it was against a guy that it was a showcase fight. He was supposed to look great in there. And in my opinion, he didn't look that good. He just didn't look that good to me. So, E-Boxing, what do you think about this fight? And who are you picking in this whole Pascal versus Bute matchup?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. It's a 50-50 fight. It's a gambler's nightmare, really. It really is a gambler's nightmare. I mean, Pascal is the puncher who I've just been looking at. I've not looked at his record today, but just off the top of my head, when was the last time he got a top level knockout? He's supposed to be a big puncher, but when was the last time he got a top level knockout? I can't think of any.
Good point.
Big puncher. Not many knockouts. Lost all of his big fights recently. Can't pull the trigger anymore, in my opinion. He's got stamina issues. He's got a lot of weaknesses, and I think he's been slightly overhyped.
I thought he was poor against Glenn Johnson as well.
But here's another thing, yeah. Maybe people are considering him a huge puncher because he's fighting Lucian Bute, who is, overrated, chinny, and mentally weak. There's the three things that it's really hard. It really depends who turns up in the better condition, who's mentally tougher. And, like I said, if Pascal lands, people are saying, it's going to be over, but is it? I mean, when was the last time, like I said, Pascal knocked someone out who was good?
Oh, I thought you was on about Bute when you said that. But yeah, Pascal, I know where you're coming from, Mark. When you look at has he knocked people out, but he's been fighting at the top level. I mean, you're talking about people like Bernard Hopkins, Carl Froch. These people, you don't just get them out of there. These are tough guys with good chins, and I don't think it's lack of power. I just think it's stepping up in quality. I mean, when you fight world class like Froch and Hopkins, it's hard to get them out of there, mate.
Okay, let me just add a few things in. This is a guy, Pascal, who has fought Carl Froch and didn't really hurt him at all. Yeah, you agree?
He caught Froch. I don't know if he hurt Froch, but he made Froch take notice. He hit Froch with some good shots.
But like I'm saying, other people have hurt Froch and knocked him down. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But
I've got another thing. Pascal's another guy who fought. What's his name? Chad Dawson. This was I think it was a technical decision in the end.
Yeah.
That's how it ended. he didn't knock out, Dawson. And this is Dawson who then got knocked down several times by Andre Ward, the Feather Fist, and, got knocked out in round 1 by Stevenson.
But let's be real. The Chad Dawson Pascal fought was a different man to the one Andre Ward fought. So I don't think we can compare that one. Totally.
Well, let me jump in on this one. Let me jump in on this. All right. I think this fight for me is about who do you believe in more, and I don't know. It's hard to believe in either one of these guys right now because they both just haven't looked like themselves lately. Bute, I just don't know what's happened to this guy. Like as Stuart said in another show, man, I just feel like his spirit is broken. I feel like there's no, I don't know. There was just a certain swagger that Bute had before to where I could see why people kind of fell into the hype of feeling like he was a guy who could have potentially maybe gave Ward problems or maybe he was going to give Froch problems. But now, obviously, ever since the Froch fight, the guy just hasn't looked close to being the same. And even Pascal, I feel like, Hopkins, as strange as it sounds, I feel like Hopkins took something from Pascal. And I feel like his confidence is a little bit shook since then. He struggles with boxers. Pascal's a guy who's had injury problems as well. So we just don't know what we're getting with either of these guys. So to be honest, I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think stylistically Pascal does give Bute problems, but I still think because there's so many unknown questions, I think it's just a 50-50 fight. And it's just a pick 'em fight, man. It all depends on who shows up on that night.
Yeah, can I just say, Tom won in the chat, he says that Jim Watt tells him that Froch broke his heart. And I think, that he could have a point there. I mean, Froch probably did break Pascal's heart because Pascal was a beast when he came over to England. And he was never the same after that, I don't think. Even though he went on to win the light heavyweight championship of the world, like I said, it was a dodgy performance. I just don't think it was the same after that. So I'm gonna go with Tom and Jim Watt on that. And I think if Pascal is a broken man, then it's Carl Froch that's done that to him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, it could end controversially. We don't know, or maybe an injury or a knockout. Who knows? I mean, this is the best chance for Pascal to get a knockout. At what is perceived near enough a decent level, and I guess Bute's got his chance too because if he isn't as mentally weak and chinny as people say he is, people are gonna have to eat a lot of humble pie. I guess. I really do.
Yeah, well, something I thought of for a long time is I thought that Adonis Stevenson might try to get the winner of this fight, especially if it's Bute, and have it in Canada. But I don't know. Adonis Stevenson, he just seems like he's more interested at this point. He's trying to get B-Hop, I think. And other than that, I mean, that's pretty much his main priority. I think he tried to get Andre Ward, maybe. But obviously Andre Ward doesn't look like he intends on moving up from 168 anytime soon. So, it looks like, maybe Adonis Stevenson targets the winner of Pascal Bute, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. I mean, there's a couple of comments in the chat. I want you. Obviously, Rob Palmer, he's saying, obviously, Pascal's career since the Froch fight proves otherwise. I'm wrong. But how am I wrong? I mean, what did he do after that? I mean, he never impressed me really after that. He's a good fighter, Pascal, but let's be real. Carl Froch did break him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. I agree with that. I mean, the Dennis Gretchen fight, I debate if Lucian Bute even won that Dennis Gretchen fight.
I think he won it, but I don't think he won it clearly. I don't think he won it the way he was supposed to win it. I think he definitely shown a lot of, once again, mental weakness in that fight. But he's shown a decent chin, so he took some damage in that fight. Took some punches, so I guess that's a plus for him.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, guess what? For the callers who are listening in, man, we want to hear what you guys think. So go ahead and add the Boxing Union on Skype if you haven't. If you have the Boxing Union on Skype, go ahead and ring in, and we'll try to get you guys in. We'll try to do it one at a time. Try to get you guys in one at a time. Let you voice your opinion. So go ahead, call in, and we'll try to get you on. Let's look at some other topics that we got for today, man. There's obviously Adrian Broner, and he wants this rematch with Marcos Maidana, man. This is a topic that a lot of people are really talking about. So I guess we could touch on this for a little bit. What do you think? Do you think this is a smart move for him to stay at 147 and to go after Marcos Maidana? What do you think about this?
Well, staying at 147, I don't think that would be where I would send him. No, I mean, I'd send him down to 140, like welterweight. I think that would be a better idea for him right now, because like we were talking before with Matisse, 140 is a bit weaker than it was before, and there's people Broner can really pick up belts from, and then he can come up in weight once 147 is a little bit weaker, and that's how I would, and then try and clean up. That's how I would push him if I was his matchmaker or manager. But I'm not like that. And Broner's saying he wants to go the hard way and take an instant rematch with Marcos Maidana, which I think it's definitely risky. I mean, I'm not sure how it goes. I'm really not sure how it goes right now. I mean, I did say beforehand that Adrian Broner should beat Marcos Maidana every single day of the week. And on his worst day, scrape past him on a really tight points decision. But right now, I severely overestimated Adrian Broner. Severely. And now I think Adrian Broner, on his best day, could scrape past Marcos Maidana on a points decision. So, he's got to really turn up. You got to question a few of the things about Adrian Broner. Does he, one, have enough pop in his punches? Does Broner have the head movement? Does he have the foot speed, or does he have the basic ability to evade the shots that Marcos Maidana was tagging him with all night and dropping him on 2 occasions? Can he do all that in one training camp?
I think we all kind of bought into Adrian Broner a little bit. Like you said, we at least thought this guy would be able to get past Marcos Maidana because, let's be honest, Marcos Maidana was tailor-made for him. But the thing I don't get about Adrian Broner, though, man, this guy was an absolute monster at lightweight. He was huge. He was strong. Okay, he was pushing guys around. Like you said, he had plenty of pop on his punches down there, plenty of power. He didn't even really have to work as hard at lightweight, and that's probably why I think he kind of developed those bad habits down there because he was so much leagues above, those fighters, the Vincent Escobedos that he was fighting, the Eloy Perez's, all those guys, even the Gavin Reeses. He was so much leagues and bounds above those guys. I don't think that he really had to, really dedicate the way that he really should have been dedicating himself to the sport. And he was getting by on talent. He was getting by on talent and some of those advantages that he had. But it's just weird that he didn't milk it as a little bit longer and just stay down there, maybe take a trip to 140, test the waters there, and let his power naturally carry up to welterweight. I mean, this guy jumped straight up to welterweight from lightweight, took on Paulie Malignaggi, okay, and number one, Paulie Malignaggi, as we saw from his performance in the Zab Judah fight, this guy is a tough test for anybody. He takes on Paulie, and he just couldn't hurt Paulie. He really couldn't hurt him, man. So, and by now, obviously, he's had 2 fights at welterweight. So, like you said, it's very apparent that his power has not transferred at all.
Yeah. I mean, the thing, this is what I don't understand about me personally. Alarm bells should have been ringing, when he fought Paulie Malignaggi and barely scraped a decision. Well, I thought it was a draw, personally. I thought it was a draw, but he barely got through that fight. Alarm bells should have been ringing then because even the guys who we admit now, they're not as good as they're not that good. People like Ricky Hatton, people like Emir Khan, they both stopped Paulie Malignaggi, both of them. So Adrian Broner, moving up, and then he was having such trouble. We should have known. I think we should have known.
Yeah, we should have known, man. So, like I said, the question is going to be, does he have a future at welterweight? Because, I mean, this is Marcos Maidana we're talking about. This is the crazy thing. Let's say that he fights Marcos Maidana again, and he does beat Maidana. Okay, let's say he actually does win. What now? I mean, obviously there's Keith Thurman out there. Keith Thurman has been screaming his name for a long time. There's Sean Porter out there. I mean, there's a lot, tougher fights, more tough fights out there than Marcos Maidana for Adrian Broner at welterweight. So if he can't even get past Marcos Maidana, who's pretty much a middle-of-the-road welterweight, how is he going to stack up against guys like Keith One-Time Thurman and some of those beasts that are hanging around there at welterweight? I just don't know, man. It's definitely going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, the first thing you'd say is, if he's having trouble with Maidana, Maidana's now the go-to guy. If you want a world title shot, you go to Maidana, you try and get it off Maidana, because that's your best chance of winning the world title, because he's the most beatable guy there, And if he's having trouble with him, how is he going to beat the likes of? I've got to rethink all of these fights now. Tim Bradley, I think he would beat him. Devon Alexander, that would be a tough fight for him. I think Devon Alexander would beat him now. Kell Brook, that would be a tough fight for him, even though I don't really rate Kell Brook. Khan, I think, would beat him because he don't have enough pop in his punches to sting Khan. All these fights, man, these are all fights that we've got to rethink now because, Adrian Broner has shown us really that the alarm bells have well and truly went off. He ain't got it. I don't think he's as good as we thought at all.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, Mark. I mean, I see something in him. I don't know what it is. I see talent. I just think it's been he's not going about it the right way. He's not taking boxing serious. It's just like a big joke to him. And I think if he can get a right trainer in, someone that can inspire him a little bit, then I think this kid can go somewhere. He needs to get away from that rapping game. He's no fucking rapper. He sucks at rapping. He's a clown to watch on TV. Keep out of the limelight. Go and do that Rocky IV shit. Go to Siberia for a month. Go and fucking pull cars and snowstorms. Do something different. I mean, he needs to come back with his A game. And if he does, I think he can beat Maidana.
Well, the thing I think is we're going to find out what he's really made of now because obviously Broner's never had to deal with a loss before. So this is the first time in which he's dealing with this. We're going to see how this young kid handles it. Is he going to go in the gym and actually work on the things that we've been saying he needed to work on? I mean, at the Ponce de Leon fight. I mean, these are just issues that finally all became magnified in one fight, okay? And like I said, he's got to go back to the drawing board. Like Stewart said, he's got to ask himself, does he have the right team around him? I don't know. I don't want to throw too much stones at the trainer. I do question why all of us were able to see all these blatant flaws in Broner, but obviously a guy who's supposed to be such a decorated trainer like Stafford wasn't able to actually notice these things or didn't actually bring them to Broner's attention. I don't know. I mean, maybe he did and Broner just wouldn't listen because the fact that Broner comes back to the corner and the trainer's trying to talk to him and he's like, nah, I'm good. I mean, he wanted no part of it, Broner, man. I think Broner definitely was on that big stage and he just did not want to ask for help.
I think he was embarrassed. He looked embarrassed in the corner to me. He just thought, hang on a minute, he's looking around saying this weren't meant to fucking happen. Do you know what I mean? And he just didn't know what to do. And I feel sorry for his trainer, I do, because obviously I'll give him stick, but he's obviously got talent. You don't take two American Olympic teams to Olympics if you're a bum, but obviously they never won fuck all, so that don't help his record either. So I mean, it's hard to say with him. It really is. I mean, I'm gonna, I don't want to be too harsh on the guy because I don't think Adrian Broner's an easy fighter to train. I mean, it's obviously he's a fucking grade A twat. He's got an ego problem, and he doesn't want to listen to people.
I'm going to say something else as well, because we always talk about trainers. I know as boxing fans, we talk about trainers a lot, but there's not really a lot of great trainers out right now. And let's look at Amir Khan, for example, okay? Amir Khan was with Freddie Roach, all right? Amir Khan, if we're all honest with ourselves, Amir Khan was putting on his best performances when he was with Freddie Roach, all right? He was putting on his best performances, but obviously he had blatant deficiencies. So Amir Khan leaves Freddie Roach. He gets with Virgil Hunter. And I think a lot of people initially thought, hey, this is going to be a great deal, a great move. He's going to learn a lot from Virgil. He's going to work on his defense. But Amir Khan, man, since he's gotten with Virgil, has just looked horrible. So it's not always changing trainers that actually just, does the magic trick. I think the fighter has to be willing to make changes. They have to be willing to understand that they're doing things wrong, that they need to change things and tweak things. And I don't know. I just think that the match between a fighter and a trainer just isn't always a perfect match at the end of the day. So just jumping ship doesn't always help,
Yeah, but I think the problem with Virgil Hunter and Amir Khan is, going off topic a little bit, is I just think that Virgil Hunter is such a fucking weirdo. I mean, you know, I think he scares people more than inspires them. You know,
Yeah.
he's ready to be
He's
whooped.
ready to be whooped.
Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, obviously what he's done with Andre Ward's a fantastic job. I mean, but Andre Ward's a bit of a weirdo himself, so you know, them two peas in a pod, eh? But yeah, I mean, there's just something about the guy. He's just a fucking weird. He's just weird. He's strange.
Well, that's just it. You have to have the perfect personalities to match. You know what I mean? Like Angel Garcia and Danny Garcia, obviously they're related, but they match with each other right. Okay, it's the perfect personality. Joel Diaz and Timothy Bradley, perfect fusion. So it's so much things. You know, you have to be willing to, but it's part of maturity as well. You have to be willing to understand as a fighter, you don't have all the answers. You need to learn. And I think that loss is when Broner finally got that wake-up call that, you know what, I don't have all the answers. You know what, I actually do need to learn. I need someone to actually help me, you know, because, I mean, judging by some of the videos that you see of Broner on YouTube where he's just kind of, you know, talking about himself. I mean, the guy really thought that he was the next coming of Floyd Mayweather. He really believed it.
And mentioning Floyd, that's a good point there, because that's what Floyd did. When he fought Cotto, Floyd realised that he was there. He was fading. He was there for the taking. So he, you know, he had a big fallout with his dad. So, you know, to go back to your dad and say, look, Dad, I need your help, you know, it takes a brave man. And Floyd's the best. So for the best to know that he needs help with something, you know, then if they're doing it, then these other fighters should be doing it too, because you can never learn enough at boxing. It's like I said, you learn boxing to the day you die. You don't know it all. There's not a fighter on this planet that knows everything about boxing.
Solid points, man.
Here's the main question, though. Do you think, Stuart, that Agent Broner can learn enough or change enough in one training camp to beat Marcus Maidana?
Yeah, because I don't think it was the training camp was the problem. I think it was his attitude. I mean, it was just watching that All Access, whatever it is. I mean, it was unbearable to watch. I mean, I can't stand the guy. I mean, that is not entertainment to me. That's just a fucking twat acting a knobhead for an hour. And you know, he needs to get back into the box. I'd rather watch one of the boring Latinos talking in Spanish for an hour but being dedicated to the sport than listen to Broner rapping bollocks and then, you know, just not taking the sport serious. He thought he was going to go in there and walk Maidana down, take him out. You know, you just don't do that to a brawler. These guys are tough. You don't. These, you know. He needs a new game plan, and he needs to take the fight serious. And I believe he's got the talent to beat Marcus Maidana.
Yeah, I think it's the most likely of the fighters he could beat right now, Marcus Maidana. But I still think it's going to be a job sorting all what was wrong, you know, in the last fight out. I think it's going to be a job, big job, you know. But Joker Boxing, what do you think? Do you think he's got it? He's got it right now. Do you think he can fix everything that was wrong in that fight in one training camp?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. It really is tough because he has a lot that he really has to work on. Personally, I've said it before for a long time. I feel like he needs to abandon the shoulder roll. It's just not working for him. No. He needs to go to an orthodox style. I mean, the guy, he's aggressive. You know, he likes to hit people. He's got power. So why not utilize that? Why not go to an orthodox style? Let his hands go more. Stop being lazy. And I think the shoulder roll, it kind of promotes him to be lazy a little bit, because the shoulder roll obviously is a defensive stance. It's not an offensive stance. You're in the shoulder roll basically to sit back, counter punch, you know, and obviously, you know, take advantage of your opponent's mistakes. So it's not a style where typically you see guys really leading with that a lot. Even Floyd Mayweather, a lot of times when he wants to go on the offensive, a lot of times you'll notice he'll come out of the shoulder roll to do that. So I think that he needs to kind of abandon that. And if he is going to stick with it, man, he's just got to let his hands go, work on the foot movement. But like you said, Mark, with Marcos Maidana being such a limited fighter, I honestly believe that he can go back to the drawing board, speak things, and come back and win. And he gave us a couple of reasons in that fight to think he can do that, because he had some small moments. Okay, he had some small moments, and Marcos Maidana definitely started to gas at the end of that fight. That much I'll definitely say. And that's going to be something that I think Broner's team should look at. And if Broner goes in there, takes his time, dances around for a few rounds, utilizes the jab, which was absolutely not there for him at all in the first fight. He just did not use it, which was very unfortunate. But he uses the jab the second time around, man. I think he's got it. I do.
Me too.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, we're getting stick by Loco, and obviously we know Loco. He's saying we're not giving Maidana any credit. He said it's pretty sad that we don't do that. But I mean, I've just been watching Marcos Maidana for a few years now, and he's never really impressed me. I don't know what it is. I mean, he's tough. He's just got a heart of a lion, and he's got a will to win, and that can get you far in boxing. I just think when he comes up against a skilled fighter with the right game plan, I just think he's gonna get banged out, I'm afraid.
No. Well, this is a guy who has been a stepping stone for the last few years of his career. I mean, if we want to take it, let's just step away from the Broner fight for just a second, because that's his biggest fight to date. Let's go back to his second biggest fight to date, his second biggest win. So we've got to go all the way back to 2009 when he fought Victor Ortiz. He's done nothing since. He's lost every other fight he's had since. So this is like.
I mean, he did beat Lopez. Then he beat Lopez.
Yeah, and this guy's a killer. This guy's a pound for pound killer, is he? Josecito Lopez, pound for pound killer.
I'm not gonna knock. Wait a minute. I'm not gonna knock Marcos Maidana too much, because this is what I always do. Before you knock the guy, you gotta look at what everybody else is doing in the same division. Obviously, there's Mayweather. Obviously, there's Pacquiao. But let's look at some of the other fighters at welterweight. There's Keith Thurman. You look at his resume. Obviously, he's a young guy. Sean Porter, he's now coming on the scene. So Marcos Maidana, he has some credible wins. I'm not going to knock Marcos Maidana, especially with the Adrian Broner win. I think he's a good fighter. And
Yeah,
I think he's middle of the road welterweight. Like I said, I think he's not top up there. I don't think he's bottom of the barrel either. I think he's right middle of the road. He could give a lot of people a test. And
anyone a test. He'd give anyone a test. He's a good fighter, but he's just basic. He hasn't got any skills. He's not great at anything. And Loco just said in the chat about having a heart is all you need sometimes. Well, that's wrong, because Arturo Gatti would tell you that. He had a line, but he was a punching bag. I mean, so you do need more on the heart. And that's what, because you end up being like Riddick Bowe and can't even fucking string a sentence together by being a punch bag. So you need a bit more to the game than doing that. See what I mean? So I'm getting a text at the same time. But yeah, it's not just about heart. You need other tools than heart.
Well, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. You do need more things than just heart, especially when you get to the higher level, because on the lower level, yeah, heart could get you past a lot of fights, but ultimately when you get up to the A and the B plus fighters, man, you do need another dimension to your game. That's when you see the guys who are one-dimensional versus the guys who are two-dimensional. And heck, even Broner, man, since we were talking about him, moving forward, hopefully he does incorporate some new dimensions to his game, because this guy gets a solid jab and some good foot movement, he's going to be a problem. But he's got to develop that, and he's got to understand that those are things that he needs to work on. So let's go ahead and move on to another topic, man. Let's go ahead and talk about Canelo Alvarez versus Alfredo Angulo. That's going to be an interesting one to talk about. But yeah, hey, guys, if you're listening in, feel free to go ahead and call in. We don't have any callers calling in as of yet. But yeah, if you're listening in, go ahead and call in while the line is free while we're getting into these topics. But yeah, eBoxing News, what do you think about Angulo versus Canelo?
I think it's going to be an action-packed fight, actually. Yeah, I think it's a good fight, but I don't think it's a hard fight for Canelo. I think it's going to be closer to a mismatch than it's going to be a real test for Canelo. I mean, Canelo is a good fighter. People just are taking too much into this Floyd loss. I mean, everyone's lost to Floyd. Let's be real. I mean, Angulo has lost to almost every big fight he's ever had. So, what's Angulo, getting his fight off? A loss. Oh well, I think it's a loss unless he's had one since the Lara fight. But he's not really beat anyone of any note. This is a fight to make Canelo look brilliant and make him look devastating in the same fight. I mean, let's look at Alfredo Angulo. What's the first thing we all know about Alfredo Angulo? He is so slow.
All right, wait a minute though. Hey, wait. But we said the same thing about Marcos Maidana going into the Adrian Broner fight. So let's be fair. These matchmakers don't always have it right. All right.
Marcus Maidana is not as slow as Alfredo Angulo. Marcus Maidana is not slow. I'll diss Marcus Maidana when it all comes about. Don't get me wrong, but I've never called him slow. I've never said he's slow. He's always been, fast enough, and because he always throws the big punches. But Angulo throws the big punches. He throws the bombs, but you can see them coming a mile off most of the time. It's like because he's just so slow.
Respond to that though. With that being said, I hear you, but speed is relative, okay? You could be slow if you're in the ring with Floyd Mayweather because he's a fast fighter. But if you're in the ring with Canelo, we gotta put everything into perspective here. Canelo isn't the fastest fighter around. Canelo Alvarez, let's talk about him for a second. Canelo is a guy who gasses in fights, okay? He's not the fastest guy around. He has decent hand speed with his combinations when he gets them going. But like I said, he does tend to gas, and he slows down as the fight progresses. So I don't think it's safe to say that, Canelo is going to be able to dodge every one of Angulo's punches. I think Angulo is going to get through to Canelo because he was able to get through to freaking Erislandy Lara, who's way faster than Canelo. So I'm not saying I'm on the Angulo hype train or anything. I'm just saying I don't think this fight is as far away as people are making it out to be.
See, I think Canelo Alvarez is going to whoop Angulo. Just far too good for him. I mean, timing, speed, power. I mean, Angulo's tailor-made for this guy. And Canelo Alvarez is a very good counter-puncher as well, and he's got some good head movement. You know what I mean? He can actually dodge punches. I mean, Austin Trout must have threw 1,000 punches at him and probably hit him 12 times. You know what I mean? He's got really good defense, Canelo Alvarez, and I just think he's going to pick Angulo apart. I mean, it's going to be a mass murder, if you ask me. I just can't see if Angulo's getting stopped by Lara, then Canelo is definitely going to stop him because I think Canelo hits a lot harder than Lara.
Yeah, and here's another thing. Let's look at it like this. Yeah, look at the eye injury. Every time someone has an eye injury like that, their career is pretty much over. Look at a better version of Angulo, who is Margachito. I think that Margachito's better than Angulo, but he was quicker. He had a better KO ratio because of his plaster of Paris and all shit like that. But once his eye was done, he was done, and now Angulo's eye's done. He's going to be done. It's going to be a target, a bullseye all night long. And Canelo's got the good hooks. He's going to be lighting him up all day. Plus, unlike Margarito, Angulo's been hit many a time. He's been knocked out. So I can see Canelo absolutely whooping him. I mean, like literally putting him. He's ready to be whooped. He's ready to be whooped.
All right, I tell you guys what. I agree that I think Canelo is probably too much for Angulo, as he should be. I mean, like I said, let's not act like Angulo is a world beater. He should beat Angulo. But what I'm saying is, I think that there's enough flaws in Canelo to where I think he's gonna make what should be an easy night's work a lot harder than it should be for himself. Because Canelo, let's look at Canelo, man. Let's analyze Canelo a little bit. Let's go off of his last performance. Now I know he was fighting Mayweather, so I'm not gonna be too tough on him. What I am going to question is this guy's game planning and his ability in the ring to adjust. I'm going to question that because you are in the ring with pound for pound one of the best boxers on the planet, and you mean to tell me your strategy is to outbox that guy? I got to question, if that hamster in your head is still alive and that wheel is spinning, man. I really got to question that because that was ridiculous. This guy should have went in that ring and applied pressure to Floyd Mayweather. Okay, that was he had to do that, but instead he stood there, he froze, and he tried to box with Mayweather. This guy really thinks he's freaking Pernell Whitaker in there, man. He really does.
It was ridiculous to watch. I mean, he came into the ring and tried to counterpunch the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world and looked ridiculous doing it. I mean, Canelo's a very good fighter. He's 23 years old. I mean, a lot of people don't rate him. I just don't see. If you don't rate Canelo Alvarez and don't see any talent there, then you must know nothing about boxing whatsoever. Because this guy is a real good fighter. He just hasn't got the heart. And like someone in the chat says, he hasn't got the stamina either. He needs to work on that. He comes in the ring too heavy. He just looks too top heavy for me. I think he needs to get in. He needs to get a better team, better trainer. I'd like to see him with Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach will get him going forward. Let him throw his hands. Because when he throws his hands, he's beautiful to watch. But he's just so negative. And then against Floyd Mayweather, I mean, on the back foot, trying to counter-punch him, it was ridiculous.
Well, I'm going to bring up a point that you just kind of brought up, Stuart. He kind of negates himself. Like, you're coming in the ring big, strong. You got that big, strong advantage there. But you're not really trying to put your weight on guys. You're not really letting your hands go, coming straight forward, being aggressive. So what's the point? What's the point? If you're trying to be some slick boxer, you would think this guy would be amazingly conditioned. He'd be conditioned to move around the ring. Like I said, it's like he has an identity crisis. He doesn't know who he is. I guess he thinks he's the Mexican version of Floyd Mayweather. But he found out in his last fight that he isn't. So he's got to make some adjustments, man. So I can't really be a huge believer in him. I don't want to be too tough on him, but like I said, I think this fight, he's going to make it harder on himself than it has to be. I don't have as much faith in this guy as everybody else does, and his resume gives me no reason to think that he's in another class. He hasn't necessarily proved it yet, to be honest, so he's got to prove that.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, it is interesting, but like I said, maybe we're looking too much at the Lara fight as well for Angulo. Sometimes, let's be real, Lara's best performance was the Trout fight, but other times he can go missing in fights for like 2 or 3 minutes, and that might have just been what Angulo needed in that time, to bring himself back in the fight. But here's another thing: Angulo quitting that fight, something to think about.
I mean, let's be fair. Let's be fair, I don't think he quit. I just think he got hit with such a hard shot that cracked his eye socket. I think he turned away in pain. I think that's different. Once you turn your back, the ref has to wave it off. So
yeah.
But
we say.
I mean, I'm going to give Angulo a bit of credit. I thought he come with a great game plan against Lara. I thought that is exactly how you fight Lara. I just think he got sloppy in the end. He got tired. He got sloppy, and he got counter-punched with a bomb. And the rest is history.
One thing I'm going to say about Angulo, though, just to be honest, Angulo to me seems like he reminds me kind of Gabe Rosado, and I actually like Gabe Rosado, but I think Angulo has this thing where he gets in there with the fighter, he gives them some tough work, and then he just basically kind of folds in the end, basically. And I think these matchmakers have kind of gotten wind of that, and that's why they pretty much whipped him up for Canelo to fight him, because they think he's going to be easy pickings. So obviously Angulo has to come in this fight and really try to win it. He needs to not just go in there and try to prove that he belongs in the ring with Canelo, actually go in there and try to take Canelo out. And if he's aggressive, I do give him a shot. But obviously his track record says that we should be leery of him as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So yeah, man, you guys go ahead. You got the number. Add the Boxing Union on Skype if you want to call in. We could discuss some of these topics. We got a lot more to talk about on this show, man. Let's see, man. There's obviously Robert Guerrero and the whole Golden Boy issue, man. He looks like he wants out of his contract, and he's trying to get a Manny Pacquiao fight. So go figure. This guy has pretty much gone AWOL for a long time. We haven't seen him since he took that beat down from Floyd Mayweather. And now he wants to fight, the next guy at 147, which is Manny Pacquiao. What do you guys think about that, Stuart?
Sorry, we had a problem with my mic there. Right, I'm gonna. Pacquiao. Guerrero. I can't stand Robert Guerrero, and the reason why I can't stand Robert Guerrero is because he was a disgrace against Floyd Mayweather. It was a shocking performance, horrendous to watch. He told us that him and God was going to get rid of Floyd Mayweather for us. That background sound better not be on again. Whoever's key, you're gonna have to delete that.
Go ahead and mute yourself, bro.
You're gonna have to mute yourself, mate. Right.
Hmm.
So he was a disgrace against Floyd Mayweather, and you know he's talking a fight against Manny Pacquiao. What's he done? He's not fought anyone since Mayweather. You know, his best win is Andre Berto, for crying out loud. You know, and this guy should be mentioned in the Pacquiao. He's greedy. He got a good payday against Mayweather, and now he wants another one. And no one else. He seems to think he's better than everyone now. Oh no, he's not good enough for me. You know. I think he left Bob. I think he left Golden Boy because I think Golden Boy were going to send him to the slaughters. You know, I think they were going to send him to the slaughter, stick him in there with Furman or something to get killed. Because I can't see why he wanted to leave Golden Boy to go top rank. He's obviously wants some easy fights for good money. You know, Alvarado, Rios. You know, 3 thrillers with them, and then probably Pacquiao in 3 years or something when Pacquiao can hardly walk. You know, ridiculous.
E-Boxing News, what do you think, man? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is a farce, isn't it, really? Let's be real. I mean, Robert Guerrero basically he's saying he's trying to get out of his Golden Boy contract, and he's claiming violation of the Ali Act, which basically means that he's claiming that in order to get the actual Floyd Mayweather fight that he went and lost disgracefully, he was forced by Golden Boy to sign a contract extension, which is, against the Ali Act. You can't do that, right? Since then, he's been offered fights. Well, some fights we understand, but, like he's turned down Keith Thurman, but we don't know what the deal is with that. He basically don't want to be used as a stepping stone now that he's lost to Floyd Mayweather, and he's looking to jump ship, and he's looking for any way that he can do it, and the only way he can do it is basically claiming violation of the Ali Act by saying he was made to sign a contract extension. I mean, other guys that apparently that he's turned down fights with is Amir Khan, Devon Alexander.
My God,
Marcus
who's that
Maidana,
tapping on the keyboard? Sorry, Mark, for
and Danny
interrupting,
Garcia.
mate.
Yeah, man, I know, but don't worry about that. I mean,
My God, fucking stainless steel fingertips, whoever that is.
That's Sergey Kovalev, Stuart.
Sergey Kovalev's back, man. But
Yeah.
So, I think
Sergey's on Skype. He's ready to talk, isn't he?
Yeah, well, let's move on to Kovalev, man.
Yeah, man.
Come on then, let's go. Move on then.
All right, cool. Yeah, we got
Kovalev.
we got Stephen King on, man. Stephen, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, boys. How are you?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, we're
Doing
good,
good.
man.
Good to have
We're
you back
good.
on the show.
Good.
So how do you feel about this topic, and what do you think about Robert Guerrero leaving Golden Boy? Do you think that's a smart move? And what do you think about him trying to fight Manny Pacquiao?
I think it is kind of a smart move. I think Stuart kind of hit it on the head. I think Golden Boy was going to send him to the slaughter. Use him as a bit of a Josecito Lopez, but he's probably thinking, I can go over to top rank, get myself maybe a fight with Alvarado, make a bit of money off him and Rios, maybe, Provodnikov, guys like that, and maybe then get the Pacquiao fight and make some more big coin,
Yeah, I agree. I think that the kitchen got a little bit too hot for him on the Golden Boy side, and I think it was just too much. I mean, because Richard Schaefer said they were offering him some real fights, man. They were offering him to fight Keith Thurman. He didn't want it.
Exactly, just like I said.
I think even Sean Porter as well. So I think he got some really nice offers, and he just didn't want it, Stuart.
Yeah, I'd send him to the slaughter. That's what I meant. Exactly. You've just nailed it on the head. That's why he's left, because he's a stepping stone for one of their young fighters coming up to make a name. It's a good name on your resume, isn't it? Oh, knocked out Robert Guerrero. It's not a bad name, So I think he realised that, and so he's gone to top rank, and he's now going to fight Brandon Rios 4 times.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's a very winnable fight for him, man. I don't see why he shouldn't be able to beat Brandon Rios. I mean, if he can't beat Brandon Rios, then I mean, at that point, I don't really know what to tell him, man. But yeah, obviously, you go over to the top rank side, you instantly get on some really big bills because they have such a limited stable over there. So financially, it's probably the better move. And ultimately, he gets to stay away from guys like Keith Thurman, like we said. So
yeah,
that's probably what he's going to try to do, and we'll see if he's able to get away with it.
I mean, that's when you think about it, that's what a fighter must be thinking. First thing, which one do I go for? It's either do I want to make a name for myself and fight the best and you know, I get a legacy for myself, or do I want easy fights for big money? And if you want that, you know, big fights, you know, easy money, then you go to Top Rank. If you want to make a name for yourself and get a legacy behind you, then obviously Golden Boy's the one, because they're the one with all the talent. And you're gonna, if you're in Golden Boy, you're gonna have to fight someone eventually. I mean, you can't keep ducking forever. Where at Top Rank, you can actually hide forever.
Well, you know what?
Mhm.
Something I hear people say a lot that I think is really funny is they say that fighters aren't scared of each other. They say, oh, well, fighters aren't scared of anything. You know, fighters will get in the ring with anybody, but fighters are human, man. I disagree with that. I think that fighters, I think as a fighter, you could look at another fighter and realize, you know what? This guy has power. He's got speed. He's got certain tools that I don't have. And I don't want to get in the ring with him. And we've seen time and time again in history, people avoid certain fights. You know, we brought up earlier fights that have never happened, you know, fantasy fights that we like to see happen. So we've seen it before. So I don't understand why fans say things like fighters aren't scared of other fighters. I kind of disagree. I think that they're human. They bleed too. And I think that they do have fear of certain fighters, and they do understand if a fighter, you know, has a lot of talent.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, if someone's gonna offer you a few million quid, I'll jump in the ring. Yeah, I'll jump in the ring and take my few hundred quid and go down. I don't mind. But if I'm fighting someone for not that much money and they're a real dangerous person, I'm probably gonna dodge that fight. I'm probably gonna dodge it.
Well, exactly, exactly. And I mean, even if you're weighing the risk and the reward, you know, it's still to a certain degree being afraid. We got some callers on the line. I'm gonna ask you guys to go ahead and mute y'all's Skype, man. If y'all can mute y'all's Skype, we're getting a little bit of feedback. All right, there you go. We're all good now. Yeah, and just mute yourself until we actually call on you, and then we could discuss boxing. But we do have a new caller in, Benjamin Forsey. What's up, man?
Yo, you alright, guys? Yeah, all good, man. All good.
All right, there you
Good
go.
to be on the
We're all
show.
good now. Yeah, and just mute yourself until we actually call on you, and then we could discuss boxing.
No worries.
We have a new caller in, Forsey. What's up?
I'll call back in a minute.
All right, there you go.
Be on the
We're
show.
all good now. Yeah, and just mute.
Well, that was nice. Yeah, nice call.
Yeah, shout out to Benjamin for that one, man. Shout out to Benjamin.
Yeah, top man, but
Well, that's cool. Hey, for the listeners who are listening in, before you guys call in, let's just go ahead and say that, guys, if you're calling in, try to mute yourself, mute your Skype, make sure your Mixler's turned down, so we don't have any feedback or any issues like that, so you don't have to deal with all that stuff. Let's move on to another topic, man. We got a big fight coming up, and that's Terrence Crawford versus Ricky Burns. And according to Eddie Hearn, and from what I've heard, this fight has already sold, or is on its way to selling a lot more tickets than the Beltran Burns fight. So this fight is doing really well. You know, let's go ahead and talk about this fight, man. Who do you guys like in this fight? eBoxing News, what do you think?
I like Terence Crawford in this fight. I don't think there's too much chance for Ricky Burns to win this fight. It's going to be a hard fight for him to win. I know they've definitely sold 2 tickets because me and Paul are going. Yeah, but other than that, you know, they sold at least 2 tickets. Yeah, so you know we'll definitely go and see how it is. But you know, the undercard's hopefully going to stack up, pretty nicely. The actual fight that we're going to go see Burns, I've pretty much given up hope on Ricky Burns, but I'm going for the spectacle. I'm going to go see Terence Crawford, who's a special fighter. The only question is he going to, is he going to wow us, or is he going to give us a lackluster performance? You do wonder, don't you? So what do you guys think about that?
Well, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that a little bit. I think we actually might get a good fight because there's so much on the line here. I think Ricky right now has been hearing so much criticisms. I mean, this guy, I don't even know if he's even been able to lie in his bed since he's ducked Adrian Broner, since that's been going down. I mean, this guy has been getting so much criticism from every direction. And the Beltran fight even magnified that. Obviously, everyone kind of thought that Beltran was robbed. So I think Ricky's been hearing so much criticism that I feel like he's got to be motivated if there ever was a time. So I think we might see the best Ricky that there is. Now, how good Ricky Burns actually is, we're going to actually find out finally. And as far as Terrence Crawford, the same thing goes for him. He's going into the champion's backyard. He has to be aggressive. So if he comes in here with this nonchalant attitude of I'm just coming in here to just easily get this belt, we're going to know that this guy is pretty much a fraud and he's not as good as we all thought he was. So I think questions are going to be answered about both of these guys. So that in itself, to me, just makes it interesting.
Can I just put in there, Joker, because obviously my Ricky Burns comment, my mic obviously is playing it and it wasn't working. I've just switched it back on again. No one heard what I said about the fight. I'm going to repeat that quickly. Obviously, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but yeah, it's got stink written all over it. Like I said, Mark's going to Glasgow for the piss up on that one because he obviously ain't going for the fight because it's just going to be a boring spectacle. And like I said before, this is a sort of fight that would send a glass eye to sleep. So I'm not looking forward to this. I mean, I don't really like Crawford. I think he's boring to watch. He's a very talented fighter, but he's on the back foot, jabbing away. Ricky Burns has lost all his timing. He throws punches from out of range. He sits on the ropes and takes punches when he doesn't need to. I mean, Ricky Burns has been dreadful lately, so I can't see him improving much. So I think Crawford's going to win the fight, but I just think it's going to be a stinker to watch.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see. Stephen King, you want to go ahead and weigh in? What do you think of this fight, and who are you picking in this fight?
I'm picking Crawford, definitely. Like, I think he's just too skillful for him. But I think the thing with Burns, it's funny, is like, you know, a few years ago we were thinking after he'd beaten Cassidy and then beaten Mitchell and everything, everyone was thinking this guy's really good, you know. But just recently he's just looked really poor. Like, whether those opponents were tailor-made for him, I don't know. But you'd think Beltran would have been tailor-made for him because he's a similar style to Cassidy's kind of thing, you know. But he struggled really badly with Beltran, didn't he? So I just think he's got it all to do. And I think there was a good comment that he's going to have to be aggressive, though, Crawford, in this fight, because he's seen what happened to Beltran, hasn't he? So you can't see him taking that risk, can you? And being lazy and, just trying to sneak rounds. He's going to have to come out and win all the rounds, isn't he, to make sure he gets the decision. Like,
I think the problem with Beltran, though, I'm getting an echo from someone. The problem with Beltran is that he's a tough guy that's going to come forward and he's going to weigh you down. You need to have a bit of pop on your punches to back him off. If you're going to fight on the back foot like Ricky Burns was trying to do, you've got to back him up. And Ricky Burns just got no sting in his punches. I mean, his technique's all wrong. I don't know what sort of jaw Kevin Mitchell's got for Ricky Burns to stop him like that, because Kevin Mitchell showed how fragile he was that night, because Ricky Burns has just got no punching power at all. And I think that's his problem when he fights these tough, Mexican fighters that are just going to come forward all night and throw bombs. Crawford will suit him more, because I don't think Crawford will hurt him. So I think it'll be a better fight for Burns. He'll be more in the fight. I just can't see him winning it.
You would say as well, since the Mitchell fight, Ricky Burns has had the idea about himself that he is a big puncher and that he can just blast people out, which isn't really the case, because in the obvious 2 fights since, he's barely won 3 rounds in both fights. It's quite embarrassing, really.
Exactly, he's been awful.
Well, that's the thing. I think that, both of these guys, there's no more incentive for them than obviously where they're at right now. Burns, like I said, he's been ridiculed a lot. People feel like Beltran was robbed. They're not happy about that, and they're not happy about his performances. Crawford, people want to see if he's the goods, if he's the real deal. Stephen King brought up a good point. Crawford can't go in here and think he's just going to walk in here and take this belt. He's got to really take the belt off of the champion. And it's going to be hard because we all thought freaking, Beltran took the belt off of the champion. So it's going to be hard for him to do. So he's really got to perform really well. And some people think that, we may be seeing a robbery potentially happen. But I just don't think that they're going to be willing to do that again. It would be such a bad look. I just don't think they're going to do that again. So I think
yeah.
but I do think the fight will be closer than people think. I think Burns will come in there and actually make a decent account for himself because, I mean, like I said, I mean, this guy, he's got to, he really has to for his own credibility at this point.
Yeah, I don't think lightning can strike twice in the same place in terms of the robbery. No.
No.
Oh, I'd hope not. I'd hope not anyway, because I'm paying for it.
Yeah, but with Eddie Hearn around, anything's possible. But no, I can't see that happening either. To be honest with you, I just think the Beltran was so bad. I think Eddie Hearn cannot afford to have another scorecard like that because obviously no one's going to come to fight his fighters. Nobody. So he needs. Mind you, we do say obviously Quigg. I think he got robbed. I believe Quigg won that fight, so he didn't get the decision at home that I thought he should have. So I suppose it evens itself out. But Ricky Burns was probably the worst. That was the worst decision of the year for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Eddie kind of realizes that he, like you said, he can't do that. I think he realizes the writing is kind of on the wall with Ricky. He made as much as he could have made off of Ricky. At this point, it's going to be a matter of does Ricky have what it takes to beat Terrence Crawford, and it just doesn't appear that he does. It just doesn't appear that he does, and he's probably not going to win. And if we're all honest with each other, I mean, heck, if Burns would have fought Vasquez back when that fight was being talked about, he probably wouldn't even have the belt right now. I think most people would have probably picked Vasquez in that fight.
Yeah, but Ricky Burns was a better fighter then. I think.
Yeah, but even with that being said, I mean, him versus Miguel Vasquez, I mean, man, Miguel Vasquez is definitely one of the best lightweights, right now. So even though Ricky was probably a little bit better at that point, well, me personally, I mean, maybe you would have picked Burns over Vasquez, but I know I would have picked Vasquez to beat Burns if that fight would have happened.
I mean, that's another one of Frank Warren's stinkers, isn't it? I mean, advertising that fight, arranging the venue, posters at press conference, yet no signed contract from Vasquez. I mean, it's comical, isn't it? You know what I mean? You got to get these fighters signed before you fucking start putting posters up and arranging venues. And it got cancelled twice. And this is the problem with Frank Warren. This is why he's losing his fighters. And I think it was Mark earlier that told me actually Nathan Cleverly is thinking of leaving Frank Warren as well. So, I mean, Frank Warren is really going downhill, isn't he? I mean,
let's talk about Frank Warren. Let's talk about him, man. Obviously, he tried to sign Tyson Fury, but it doesn't look like that actually happened. So, yeah, you're right, Stuart. I mean, this guy, I don't know what's with this guy. E-Boxing News, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is just comical, through and through. I mean, I don't understand how he's got so far in the business, actually, when he's doing stuff like this. I mean, what I understand is nothing has actually gone through yet. Frank has totally, once again, jumped the gun and announced something that isn't actually set in stone. Hennessy promotions are not happy. I mean, they're going on about how unprofessional Frank is and stuff like that. They said that it's not true. Hennessy is still promoting Tyson Fury, and they said worst case scenario, this is a shared promotional deal, but insists he is going to be promoting Tyson Fury, all the Furies, throughout. It is just a deal to put their fights on Box Nation, and it's got nothing to do with Frank Warren other than it's on Box Nation, and he just happens to be one of the major shareholders. The only thing that I do understand is true is that now that they're all fighting on the same on the same channel, Box Nation, basically Chisora versus Fury rematch has just become a whole lot easier to make. But other than that, everything else you've heard is probably untrue from Frank Warren.
I mean, I don't want to see Chisora Fury again. I just don't. I want to see Fury fighting Wilder. That's a fight I want to see. I want to see Deontay Wilder fight a man with a pulse. And Tyson Fury's got a pulse. He's going to bring it to him. That'd be a cracking fight. Derek Chisora has fouled every time he's stepped up in level. And I like Chisora. He's tough. He brings it. And he's going to be a gatekeeper at that heavyweight division. You're going to have to go through Chisora to get to the top. But I just think, Fury beat him out of shape. I mean, I know Chisora was out of shape as well, but Fury was fat that day. Looked terrible, and he still won. So I don't want to see that. I think, and like I said, I agree with what Tal J Music in the chat said. I think his chin's been cracked as well. I think he's getting a bit chinny. I think David Haye cracked his chin. I mean, David Haye hits anyone on the chin, he's going to crack in it. So You know, let's be real. But yeah, I don't think he's as tough as he used to be, and I just don't want to see that fight. I think Tyson Fury's got bigger fights out there for him.
Mm-hmm. It's true,
I think the heavyweight division is definitely going to get pretty interesting, man. Obviously, you bring up David Haye. You know, David Haye seems to be back in the heavyweight division. Not that anybody really cares with all of his antics at this point. But there's so many heavyweights out there. We're going to see how these guys, like you said, Tyson Fury and Deontay match up against each other. Me personally, I don't think that either side wants that fight as much as they're making it seem. I know Deontay Wilder's team is calling out Fury. They're saying they want him. Tyson Fury's team saying they want the same thing. But I just don't think their teams, aside from the fighters, I don't think their teams are both willing to take that risk right now. I think that they just want to sit still and see what's happening in the heavyweight division. I honestly do. I just don't believe either side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point, Joker.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that either of them want it, really. No, neither teams don't really want it.
I agree with that. Stephen King, why don't you go ahead and weigh in on that real quick, man, before we let you go. Give us your thoughts on that.
No, I don't think either want it at this point. Definitely not. I think, like you say, they want to see how, you know, the lie of the land kind of thing, you know, and see how things fall. Like if Vladimir leaves or whatever, you know, the way things are going to be in the future. Like, just keep popping along till then, like taking, you know, the old risk and reward scheme. You know,
pretty much,
sure
man. I think most of the heavyweight division wants to do that as well. I think everybody's just waiting to see what's going to happen with the Klitschko's, man. But Steven, man, we really thank you for calling in. Thanks for being a loyal caller on the show, my man. And we'll catch you later, brother.
No worries. Thanks very much.
Cheers,
Steve.
See you soon, mate.
Take care.
Thanks, pal.
Bye, mate.
See you later, mate.
Yeah, Stuart, what were you saying, man? You were saying something?
No. Crack on, Joker.
Okay, I thought you were chiming in on this. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this heavyweight division pans out. Obviously, there's Vladimir. Who the hell is this guy fighting again? I forgot who he's fighting.
I have no idea. I don't even think the guy's mother knows who he is.
I mean, Vladimir, man, it's really disappointing to see, like, you know, how he's representing the heavyweight belt right now. So I'm really glad that Vitaly has finally given up that WBC that he's been holding hostage. We're gonna get to see Bermain or Chris Arreola, you know, one of these guys get that WBC, and things can move forward in the heavyweight division, because it seems like it's gonna take somebody, you know, legit getting that WBC for Vladimir to finally have to fight that guy. So I just hope somebody really good gets it, because I do not want Vladimir to get his hands on that WBC in a hurry. This is the
problem,
man.
Joker. I mean, Vladimir will get his hands on that if he gets a shot at it, because there's no one out there good enough to beat him at the moment. So they need to keep Vladimir Klitschko away from that title, and I think they will. You remember, the WBC is a Mexican-American base sort of company, and they want a heavyweight title over there. They don't want to see the Klitschkos holding hostage that belt anymore. You know, so I got a feeling they'll keep Klitschko away from that.
And I tell you what, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that the WBC does, but if they really don't want to see him get the belt,
no.
I agree with that. You know, I'm with that as well, man. That does not need to happen, man.
Because I want to see Stavern and Arreola. I want to see these fights. I want to see Wilder and Fury. I want to see Pulev fighting somebody. I don't want to see Vladimir Klitschko fighting some guy I've never heard of, from some country I've never heard of. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I like Vladimir Klitschko. He's one of, you know, whether you like the guy or not, he's a great fighter. He's got over 50 knockouts, and he's unbeatable at the moment. But he's just a ball fest to watch. I've got to be real, and he's a European king as well. You know, I like my European fighters, but he's a ball. If I've got to give Rigondeaux stick for being boring, then I'm going to give him it, because he's boring as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way he fights, isn't it? Klitschko. So we ain't got. I've not got too much time for Klitschko anymore. I mean, the last fight was a disgrace. I mean, it was god awful to watch. He spent more time actually in that fight clinching than he did fighting, and I mean, it was just a horrible watch. It was. He should have been disqualified in that fight, surely.
Well, like I said before, it was actually worse than Lennox Lewis, Henry Akinwande, and Henry Akinwande got disqualified because all he did was hold. He didn't throw a punch, just hold. He was out of fear. He was scared shit of Lennox Lewis. And that's how Vlad fights. He fights scared. and he's such a talent as well. He's a world champion, but he fights scared, and I don't get that. I mean, you know, if you're a heavyweight champion of the world that's dominating, why are you scared to fight a guy? You know, get in there and take him out.
It was like non-stop fouling in that fight as well. He never got pulled up on it at all until the very end of the fight, and that was disappointing for me. You know, the referee, he really needs to look at himself, because that was one of the worst referee performances I've seen for a long time. Well, until another fight that we know about.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, the sad thing about Vladimir, though, man, is he has so many advantages over these opponents. He's way taller, he's got the reach, and he's the better boxer than, you know, damn near all of these heavyweights. So it's unnecessary. He doesn't need to do it. You know, he really doesn't. So it's just one more unfair advantage that, you know, going into the fight. Well, wow, you know, if Vladimir gets into tough waters, we know he's not going to let himself, you know, get knocked down or let that happen to him again, like it happened to him early in his career. So it's kind of unfortunate, man. It really is, because he is a good heavyweight without all of the fouling and all the unnecessary clinches.
Yeah,
It's
a very
true.
good fighter. He's a very good fighter, but, you know, let's be real, he's just boring to watch. And, you know, we give a lot of fighters. Andre Ward gets stick for being boring. Rigondeaux gets stick for being boring. Bernard Hopkins, I mean, I know Bernard was quite exciting in the last fight, but he's usually a bore fest, and Floyd Mayweather's quite boring. So we've got a lot of boring fighters out there, and Klitschko just adds to the list. So you know, you got to be real about it, and I don't really like seeing these sort of fighters. That's why I like Kovalev, and that's why even Wilder. I mean, I don't really rate the guy at the moment because he's not fought anyone, but I like him because he's going in there and he's taking people out, and that's what I like. I don't want to see these fucking fighters fighting on the back foot, holding and jabbing their way to a points win. You know, I want to see killers in the ring.
Yeah, well, I'll say that. I understand that too. And obviously everybody loves to see the slugfest. But I will say, though, you know, everybody has their own preference. And that's why boxing is so diverse, because we got different styles. So I'm not going to knock everybody who decides that they want to, you know, fight off with a back foot, utilize a jab, or try to use some strategies. I mean, it's all boxing.
Yeah. Me neither, mate. It's just what I prefer. I just don't like them sort of fights. Obviously, I respect their talents, but if I don't like to watch them.
Yeah, me and Stuart come from the more bloodthirsty type
We're
of
from
fight.
the UK, mate. We like to see broken noses and broken eye sockets.
That's it, man. Frost versus Groves, man. That pretty much says it all. That's it. That was a great fight, man. Hopefully we get to see those kind of fights in 2014. You know, I got to say, 2014 has a lot to live up to, because we had a great 2013 overall. You know, it did start off kind of rough. I do remember that, with all the injuries and the delayed fights. You know, there's so many fights we actually didn't get to see because of cancellations. Obviously, there's Fury. There was Brook versus Alexander, and a few fights that we didn't get to see. Even Alexander versus Khan. So, but other than that, I think it cleaned up pretty well. You know,
Can I just ask a question, guys, before we get off this subject? Because obviously we're going to change subject. We've got someone in the chat that wants to know, and he's asking me to say this, but he wants to know: does Klitschko not fighting his brother affect his legacy? And that you can't say he cleaned out a division because he never faced number 2 guy like Ariola, Chisora, and Adamic. Well, come on now, them 3 guys. I mean, you know, do you know what I mean? Let's be real here, Rob. I mean, never faced them. He kicked the shit out of all 3 of them in the same night. So we can't get that argument out. Fighting your brother. I mean, come on now. I mean, do you really want to see 2 brothers in the ring beating shit out of each other? Because I don't.
I'll go on this one. Yeah, I would actually like to see them 2 fight. I mean, I think it would be the only good way to see one of them. Well, no, not one of them, because you see, Vitali. The problem with Vitali is he gets a bad rep for his brother's crap fighting, you know, style. Because Vitali doesn't fight nothing like Wladimir, and that's what I like about Vitali. And I'd like to see Vitali and them 2 fight, just because it would be an interesting fight and just seeing how it goes out. But do I blame them for not fighting? No, I mean, I understand it really. No one's ever going to make it.
You know, what would you put your mother through that?
Yeah, If I was going to get paid enough money for it, yeah, of course. If someone offered me, if someone offered me if someone offered me 100 million, I'll fight my mother.
Oh dear. But yeah, like I said, that's not going to happen, Rob. So you can dream about that one. I mean, because right now Vitali's a politician, and he's not going to be coming out of retirement with politics to fight his own brother in a hurry. So yeah, forget that one.
Well, I mean, we could talk about something that actually is going to happen. There are talks about Chavez Jr. If he gets past Brian Vera, he might be fighting James DeGale next. So obviously, you guys are in the UK. Stuart, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I really like the fight. I mean, I got a feeling James DeGale is going to school this guy. But the one thing that worries me is DeGale likes to sit on the ropes and take breathers, and you don't do that against a fighter like Chavez because Chavez Jr. will get you out of there. I mean, that's what he wants. He doesn't want to be running around the ring trying to get to you because he's lazy. He wants you to sit there in front of him so he can throw them bombs. And if DeGale does that, then he's in trouble. But I got a feeling we're going to see the best DeGale. I mean, this is his big chance to shine in America. There's a lot of Americans that rate this guy more than in the UK. So they see something from this guy. So I like DeGale, and I think he's going to be, skill-wise, they're just levels apart from Chavez. But obviously Chavez has got a granite chin, and he's always got a chance because he's got a big punch. So yeah, I like that fight, but I'm going to go with DeGale on that one.
Yeah, I think it's a hard fight. I mean, I think it's a really hard fight. Firstly, Chavez has obviously got to get past Brian Vera, which isn't, it's not set in stone. The second thing would be, it's a good fight for DeGale because, DeGale's got movement. He's got a half decent chin. I mean, he's never been hit. We don't know how he is at the very top level. And he's an Olympic standard boxer. That's someone who DeGale's never actually had to face, someone with those attributes. But you're saying that, Gale's never actually faced anyone of Chavez standard, someone who's fought for world titles. So, I think he's fought one guy who's a former world champion. But yeah, it's definitely a hard fight. I mean, here's another thing. Chavez, he blows up to be a heavyweight on fight night, so that's going to be something hard for him. He sits on them ropes.
Yeah.
I don't like that for him. But what we do know is our boxer friend Umar has definitely sparred DeGale, and he said DeGale was strong. He's got movement, he's got skill, and he knows how to make a fight dirty if needs be. So we can always look at that, or maybe we could try and get Umar in if he's here to tell us, or not. But yeah, as long as DeGale keeps off the ropes, it's a fight that he could definitely win, unless there's some Texas home cooking with Chavez.
Yeah, I mean
I'm
that's
sure
what
DeGale won
scares
like
me as
that.
well. It's going to be hard to beat Chavez on points over there, that's for sure. But he's going to have to go out and win convincingly, and then the rest is the rest is it's not in his hands. Then I mean, he's not going to stop Chavez. Let's be real. He hasn't got the power to stop Chavez Jr. But he's got the skills to make him look a complete tool, and that's what I'm hoping he can do.
Well, that's it. Big shout out to Umar, man, because Umar, he sparred with Chavez, like he was telling us, man. He's a good friend of the show.
No.
DeGale, that's right. He sparred with DeGale, that's right. So big shout out to Umar for coming on the show the other day and talking to us about that. And yeah, he says DeGale has the goods, man, and obviously we all know DeGale is fast. We all knew that, so it was definitely interesting to hear his take on that. And I think that DeGale would definitely school Chavez. Obviously though, Chavez has to handle his business with Brian Vera, and the way he looked in that last fight, I don't know, man. I think I'd pick him to win. I'd pick him to win the rematch, but at this point in time, man, Chavez Jr., he's just easy pickings for anybody who fights him at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he is, man. I just had no faith in the guy at this point. There's no reason we should. I mean, this guy...
Yeah, I agree, Joke. I mean, the guy's got no ambition. He's a sport little boy that's obviously always got what he wanted. I mean, he spends more time chilling in the swimming pool than he does in the gym. So, eating popcorn and shit, watching movies. I mean, the guy just don't care about boxing. I mean,
no, he doesn't, and that's the thing. We should judge him by...
If it weren't for his dad, then he wouldn't be filling out bingo halls. Never mind stadiums. Let's be real.
I look at it like we can only judge you by the energy that you put out in the universe, okay? And this guy, for the biggest fight of his career versus Sergio Martinez, sat there in his living room in his underwear, eating bowls of cereal and smoking weed, and just refused to go to the gym with Freddie Roach and actually train. So at the end of the day, why should we think that this guy is going to take his career seriously? I'm just not. I mean, even when he was taking his career seriously, you could say, he was never that good. I mean, the guy just outweighed people by 50 pounds, and he used to just bully people. So he never really had much skills. And I think James DeGale just would really just put an end to him, man. I think he'd end him.
Yeah, we got some good news, guys. Umar's here. We're going to add him into the conversation, hopefully right now. If Stuart just wants to sort that out for us.
Sort that out for you now.
He's gonna tell us about the sparring session with James DeGale, and then we'll let him go to his life that he leads. So, you want to just bring him in?
Yeah.
Here comes Umar.
Come on,
If that's
Umar.
if Umar, yeah, come on Umar, answer the phone, mate.
I could be just talking to us, and then here he is.
Yeah, so Umar,
Yes, guys.
yeah, the question we want to ask you is, can you tell the people about how you sparred James DeGale and what you think James DeGale has got that is going to lead him in good spirits against Junior should they fight?
Yeah. You want to hear about the sparring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us about your sparring session.
I only went there to spar him only once, so there's not that much to talk about it. But we're supposed to be sparring more because they asked me to come there, to spar James, later on. But what can I tell about James is he's got a very high work ratio during his sparrings, and he's a good mover. He uses the ring very well, and he punches quite accurate from the distance, So the thing for a bigger, stronger guy like me, I really have to put it on him, I mean, and he's got speed, but I got speed to match his speed, Then, yeah, I mean, James' best attributes, if you ask me on them, I would say is his high work ratio. Definitely, he's very fast, and he works a lot, and likes to go to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Does
Let
he
me
have
ask
the
you a
movement?
question because
Does he have the movement to offset Chavez?
Well, definitely, Chavez is really poor in the movement. Like Chavez only has the mass and the big frame, basically. He's technically a sound boxer, but he isn't explosive enough, to catch James. I don't think so. No chance.
Mm-hmm.
well, you brought up some of his flaws on the last show that we did. Tell us about his stamina issues because you said that James DeGale had a couple of stamina issues that you talked about.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen in his fights, in sparrings, you don't see that, but what I've seen in his fights, like he gets off the pedal, sometimes in the middle rounds, like in his last fight, he gave some of the middle rounds to the guy, and like he seems to be like that. He gets a bit tired in the later part of the fight, because of his high work ratio in the first rounds, and if he would be a bigger puncher, he would end a lot of fights in the early parts of the fights because he works so well, and he dominates with his good technique. If he had bigger punching power, he would definitely stop a lot of guys, within the 4 or 5 rounds.
So does he not have the
definitely.
power to hurt him?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. James is not he's not a big puncher, at all. So like on guys like Chavez, I think he can take a punch, So, but I'd still see Chavez taking a good beating, but I don't see him getting knocked out.
Okay, so seeing that you've been in the ring with James DeGale, do you think that you think there's any way that Chavez Jr. can capitalize on something that James does wrong in there?
Yeah, that's the thing, I think like the that high pace, work in the early rounds might wear James out. If Chavez knows how to utilize, like clinching and stuff like that, to absorb, take the energy out from James, in the first part of the fight, and then obviously, he's a big guy, you know, Chavez, and you know, with that frame, if he catches you when you're tired in the later rounds, that might pose a massive threat, you know, to James. But if James keeps on his toes and keeps on the game plan, whatever they have in mind, you know, I see James winning the fight, you know, unanimous decision. You know, only way I can see Chavez winning the fight is on a, you know, later rounds, like 11, 12 round, you know, stoppage, if James, you know, gets really gassed out. But hopefully that
Do you
don't
think he
happen.
can-
man.
Do you think he can win a
Ready,
decision?
Boston.
You think that he'll get it? You think he'll get it in Texas?
Excuse me?
Do you think he could win a decision abroad?
Because you know, that's the thing. I think James is so much better boxer than Julio Cesar Chavez. That you know, I think is if James is well trained and he can box all the 12 rounds with that good pace, you know, it will be a horrible robbery, you know, if you know the way I see it, because I see James dominating, you know, the fight with technique and movement, you know, like clearly. I mean, I think it's going to be like a landslide victory on points for James DeGale. So,
All right, cool, man. Yeah, it's got one more for you, man.
unless a horrible robbery happens, you know, then you know, we've seen those in boxing. So
Well, Umar, we know you're a big friend of the show, man, so we're glad to have you on. My last question for you is, as far as you're concerned, are you going to try to get back out there in the ring this year?
I definitely do, you know. I mean, but there's so many obstacles, you know, and the British boxing is very very discriminating against, you know, fighters that are not representing Britain, you know, because like here none of the promoters seems to be interested, you know, signing in you or giving you even fights, because when they see you're good and you oppose it, when you have, specifically like me who has a punch, you know, they see that I pose a threat to the home stable fighters, you know, so that they're not willing to give me fights here in UK, and it's really really frustrating, you know, when I see, like, I just saw this they're fighting for this WBC silver cruiserweight international title, this Scottish guy Simmons something and the Buddy Camacho, and I saw all the hype that these guys are getting, and I know, you know, that I would beat these guys on the same night, you know, if I'm well trained. You know, I'm at least like 4 or 5 levels above those guys in boxing wise, you know, and you know, it's a bit frustrating right now, the situation, but I'm working on it, you know. I go to gym regularly, you know. Obviously, I'm not training like I'm training for a fight, but I'm keeping myself fit, you know, and working on techniques with the coaches, and you know, I go to spar whenever, you know, like somebody good like James DeGale invites me, you know, and so on. But yeah, if anything, if any chance opens up, you know, I'm currently all the time looking for fights abroad, you know, from another countries, because in UK it's really, you know, it's been really difficult to get any fights here.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, definitely keep your head up, man. You're always going to have a platform on the boxing union to come over here and promote yourself. So we appreciate you being on, man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Umar.
Thank you guys.
No, thanks, Umar. We'll speak to you soon.
So yeah, guys, that was Umar
Okay.
Kema. I can't even pronounce his last name.
It's
He lost his
Kamalainen.
dues.
It's
There we go.
Umar Kamalainen.
Big shout out to Big Umar for being on the show, man. You know, he's a great fighter, and hopefully he gets his fight career together, man. It'd be great being able to actually see this guy on some cards, man. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Very
that's
good
what,
to
that's what we want to see.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know where he's coming from. It's hard, you know, to come to England and make a name for yourself, because in England you've got to sell your own tickets. I mean, a lot of these fighters on these Eddie Hearn cards, and they're selling their own tickets in big numbers. That's why Eddie Hearn has them. If you can't sell tickets, he's got no interest for you. So this is the problem. And you know, if you're not selling tickets, you've got to be destroying people. And that's another problem because he's not fighting. So I feel sorry for him because I've seen this kid fight and I know he can fight. He really can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got great speed and the power's there too. He's got it all now. He's got it all. He's ready, but they're not giving him the opportunity.
I hear that, man. So obviously we got best wishes to him, man, and hopefully, his fight career picks up, and 2014 will be his year. So you guys got anything else? Any other topics y'all want to talk about before we close up?
No, I mean, there's not been a lot of boxing on last month, so you know we've done an hour and 46 minutes now. So unless anyone in the chat has got something they want to talk about before we go. I mean, no, I'm quite happy with what we've done.
Yeah, I think obviously we gotta wait for a lot of boxing news to pick up, man. So obviously we got some upcoming fights. You know, like we talked about Pascal Butte. There's Victor Ortiz versus Louis Collazo. That one's I think January 30th in the Barclays Center, if I'm right.
I mean, yeah, Louis Collazo. I mean, Nestor from the Boxing Voice loves this guy. I mean, this guy fought Ricky Hatton years ago, and he weren't good then. So I don't know why he wants to see him fight Danny Garcia. I mean, that's a ridiculous fight. I mean, I don't know where he's going with that one. But Ortiz has been, you don't know what Ortiz you're going to get. Ortiz is a very talented fighter, but he's got the heart of Andre Durrell, and that's his problem. You know, he's just got no heart.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Victor Ortiz, as you would say, definitely needs to go see the Wizard. I'll tell you that much, man. He's got the heart of the Tin Man, man.
Get the number off Dorothy and go and see the Wizard. That's what he needs to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Victor, and that kind of makes him exciting, though, because it's just like with Amir Khan. You never know when the kid's going to get knocked out. And with Victor Ortiz, you don't know what version you're going to see. So I think that kind of adds to the excitement that he presents because the guy's always on upset alert. I mean, he could be fighting Jose Zuto Lopez or, in this case, Louis Collazo. But guess what? He's going to be on upset alert because you just don't know what Victor you're going to get.
This is the problem. I mean, it's very tight fight. I mean, I know Amir Khan beat him in the amateurs, and they were rivals back in the day in the amateurs, him and Khan. So he was a very good amateur as well, Ortiz. And, he showed him even in patches against Mayweather. I mean, he gave Mayweather a good fight in little patches, but he's just got no heart. As soon as the going gets tough, then he's thinking of excuses to get out of there. I mean, it's like the cowardly spirit of Zab Judah takes over him. He just wants a way out.
Yeah, man, he catches the Holy Ghost. He definitely does, man. He definitely does.
Zab Judah's cowardly spirit enters his
the
body,
unholy ghost,
and before you know it, he's looking for a way out. So, yeah, that's my problem with Ortiz.
Yeah. Collazo's saying now he's going to go straight over and he's going to check that chin, see if it's okay or not for him. So it's going to be a good fight. He's going right over to that chin.
I mean, that was a bad loss. Like Jose Zito Lopez. I mean, he's a bum, really, isn't he? Let's be real. He's just a middle of the table fighter in that division. So he shouldn't be losing to Lopez.
I don't know, man. I only use the word bum on Brandon Rios. That's really the only guy I use the word bum on. I mean, everybody else I think is okay. So
yeah, I'd rate him as a fringe contender, maybe fringe contender, but nah, he's not contending at for titles, and he ain't going to be contending for titles anytime soon, or he shouldn't be. But yeah, that's the type of fighter he is. And he's the guy who stopped him. Well, making Victor Ortiz get going home again.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see. Hopefully this year does pick up. We get some exciting fights being made. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, this year has a lot to live up to because last year was awesome, man.
Yeah, and obviously we've got Pascal Butte at the weekend. I mean, boxing's, we're back on. Season started again.
I'm staying up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a torturous couple of months, weren't it, without any fights? I mean, let's be real. I mean, the fights that were on. I mean, I think there was a fight on. Was it Boxing Day in America or Christmas Day or something? I mean, I don't know who's going to fucking go to fight to go and watch bums on Christmas Day, but I don't know whose idea that was. But I heard that there was a card on in America on Christmas Day or Boxing Day or something like that. I don't know if you guys can fill me in with that one.
Nah, man, I don't know. I mean, anybody fighting that close to Christmas, like you said, probably really isn't like the best fighter in the world.
It's
so.
one of them where you pay 30 quid and get a meal chucked in as well, isn't it?
I guess so, man. But I'll tell you what, man. Let's go ahead and wrap up, guys. We've had a pretty good show. You guys make sure that y'all tune in on Mondays. I know we came at you guys on Tuesday with this special broadcast, but definitely catch us on Mondays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. UK time. We'll be here. And definitely, yeah, tell a friend about it. Feel free to call in. Add the Boxing Union on Skype, so you could definitely call in and give us your feedback and chime in on these discussions. You guys want to go ahead?
Yeah, just one more thing. I'm gonna, because obviously Paul's a regular caller to our show and he's a good friend of ours. So I'm gonna ask what he wants to talk about. Obviously this one will be more for Mark. Gavin Rees and Coyle. Worth talking about. You know, what do you think of that fight? Quickly before we go.
Gavin Rees versus Tommy Coyle.
Yeah,
it's an okay fight. Yeah, this is for Paulie Mack, the my drinking buddy in Scotland.
This is the one that's going to go to Scotland with you and terrorise Glasgow.
Yeah, we're going to assault Glasgow.
Yeah, you might even see MV Chew there. You never know.
Oh, you never know. Yeah, I mean it's an okay fight. You know, Gavin Rees, he's got a lot to prove. This is the end of the road for him, really. And if you look at Tommy Coyle as well, it's sort of the same for him as well, because even though he's coming off a win, he was fighting was it a featherweight or a super featherweight? Fighting previously a super featherweight. He fought him and he was looking. At times he wasn't looking too good in that fight against the guy he should have been blasting out, and he eventually got the job done. And it was a good finish too. It was a good stoppage. It was good, but. Yeah, it's definitely a crossroads fight, and it's an all-action fight. That's what I like, you know. Tommy Coyle, just ever since the Derry Matthews knockout, where he won every round and then got knocked out late by Derry Matthews, who every now and again just springs something.
Yeah, lucky punch from somewhere,
people,
didn't he?
You know, land something from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, since then he looks like a broken man.
He does. I agree. I agree. But I think Rees is a broken man as well. I mean, he took a beating against Broner. Let's be real. He took a real beating against Broner, and then he went back and lost to Anthony Crolla. Now, anyone that knows me knows I'm not a fan of that guy at all. I think he's garbage.
$1 million Crolla. You're not a fan of $1 million Crolla?
He's more like £1 million lira Crolla. You know, he's. That's more to it, or $1 million pesetas back in the day, because he's definitely not $1 million, that's for sure. And he lost to Crolla quite comfortably. I think Broner beat his spirit out of him, like Froch did to Butte. And once that happens, I mean, you know, there's no way back for a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you on that.
It might be more on the line of, like, you know, he was at the top level fighting for world title on the biggest stage, and then he just couldn't get himself up for a fight with the likes of Anthony Crolla, who I'm sure is a great fighter in his own right, but he ain't on the level of like the Adrian Broners, you know, commanding huge paydays and stuff like that. It's a big come down, isn't it? And he might not have got up for it. But this fight will tell us everything we need to know.
I fancy Coyle in that one. I just don't think we're going to get... Gavin Rees is not going to get any better, let's be real.
Yeah, but he's a broken man, though.
Yeah, I know. He is a broke, but so is Rees. So it's battle of the broken men, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which one's going to break first?
like they're both made out of clay.
Yeah, isn't it? Paper mache. Yeah, I mean that we'll leave that topic because obviously that's a shit fight. But yeah.
Well, all right, guys. You guys go ahead and give the people that y'all's information. Let them know where they can contact you guys. Go ahead, eBoxing News. You have the floor.
Yeah, you can contact me on eBoxing News on Twitter at eBoxing News. So I just want to say one quick shout out to Paulie and Kingy. Both of them in the chat right now, and I saw one thing from Kingy that I've got to do right now. Oh, Anthony Crolla.
Oh man, you UK guys, man. I don't know what to do with you guys. Stuart, man, go ahead. Let them know where they can follow you, man.
At Stuart Little UK, just talk boxing. That's all my Twitter's for. I don't want to hear any other bullshit about anything else. If you're not talking boxing, then don't come on my page. But
that's it, man.
Little UK.
If you're not talking boxing, man, what the hell are you talking about? Well, you guys can go ahead and follow us all at The Boxing Union. You can follow me at Joker Boxing News. And yeah, go ahead and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Boxing Union. And definitely tune into our next show, guys. Big thank you to all of our callers.
Yeah.
Make sure you add The Boxing Union on Skype, guys.
Yeah, and especially the guys in the chat, because obviously they make the show a lot more interesting for us. So they help us get the show through. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and join us Monday, because we obviously there'll be Butte and Pascal to talk about. And Loco Mexican, the Man United fan, you're not going to win shit this year. You're not even going to qualify for the Champions League. Chicharito is on the bench all the time, and we'll leave it as that. Joker, let's sign out.
Standard United fan.
Shout out to the chats.
See
Peace
you
out,
later,
guys.
boys.
Later.
Cheers.
About to do this shit. Ha, double up. Yo, I'm Sugar Ray Robinson, pound for pound the best. And you overprotected, never been in no real test. Mike Tyson eat your kids for lunch. I'm like Willie Pep, I could win a round without throwing a punch. Lennox Lewis had a glass jaw. If my grandmother hit him on the chin, he probably hit the floor. The Roto Duran, all-time greatest lightweight. Prince Nassim was whack, all the hype was fake. Leon Spinks was the ultimate slacker. Sugar Ray Leonard was great, but he should've lost to Hagler. The 70s had the best heavyweights. From Ali Frazier to George Foreman, there was so many greats. Bob Foster hit way too hard. He would've put Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones in the graveyard. Some of y'all might disagree, but Larry Holmes might have been the best, even better than Ali. Greatest Puerto Rican fighter, Carlos Ortiz. Runner-up Wilfredo Gomez in the early 80s. Worst Puerto Rican fighter is John Ruiz. Winky Wright beat Shane Mosley 2 times with ease. Bernard Whitaker was robbed so many different occasions. Mike McCallum represented hard for the Jamaicans. Costa made jab through the funky chicken. Years later, Ricky Hatton had Costa who quit, and I ran Barkley rep the BX. Christy Martin was the first popular fighter of the opposite sex. Galata punched Riddick Bowe repeatedly in the dick. Then when he fought Mike Tyson, he bitched out and quit. James Toney was a skilled technician. Jack Johnson beat white boys and fucked their women. Floyd Patterson got knocked out by Sonny Liston. Paulie Ayala always seemed to get the kick decision. Arturo Gatti take the best ass whipping. Jim Lampley and the rest of the HBO cheerleaders do the most ass kissing. They jerked Bernard Hopkins, ruined his 10-year reign. They stole his belts from him, gave him to Jermaine. Vasily Kirov nearly murdered Joe Macy. Joe Calzaghe annihilated Jeff Lacey. John Mugabe's nickname was the Beast. Corrales Castillo, the first fight was a masterpiece. Julian Jackson crushed Terry Norris. Mayorga knocked out Forrest. Hearns Hagler taught us what a war is. Trying to find the next heavyweight great. They thought it was Isaiah Bucci, but he went to jail for rape. Bob Abrams a weasel and Don King's evil. Floyd Mayweather's good, but he need to fight better people. We watched Oscar De La Hoya get rich. He nearly outpointed Felix Trinidad, but then he ran like a bitch. Barrera Morales, Julio Cesar Chavez. Mexican fighters was fucking up mad heads, and we never got to see the best. Salvador Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez retired undefeated. Larry Holmes beat Michael Spinks, but he got shitted. Manny Pacquiao speed is heated, believe it to eat it. Oliver McCall smoked crack and had a nervous breakdown. Riddick Bowe knocked out Holyfield in the 8th round. Jake LaMotta had the best chin. When Mike Tyson beat Spinks, was his best win. They stopped 15-round fights after Duck Who Kim. The biggest disappointment was probably gold medalist Mark Breland. Emil Griffith was accused of hanging out with queers. Tony Ayala went to jail for 16 years. Michael Grant fought pitifully. Vito Antuofermo was a champ from Italy. Chris Bird beat Vitaly. Fernando Vargas' best win was Ike Corte, who fought the best competition, Juan Laporte. Levander Johnson killed in the ring, R.I.P. Tommy Morrison was diagnosed with HIV. First round, Ernie Shavers finished Kenny Norton. Michael Dokes and Tony Tucker was both Coke Snorton.